Bing bong.
Are you vaccinated? Yes, sir.
And do you have COVID?
Yes, sir.
And can you spread COVID?
Yes, sir. Hey, yo. Who's the president, man? Who's the president? Byron. Who's the president? Byron.
Wrong.
Who's the president?
President Harris.
Huh?
Who's the president?
Who's president? Fauci.
What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now?
Let's go, Brandon.
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Did we get it?
We got it.
Welcome to the Beau Show, the very first of 2022. Happy New Year to you all. For those that don't know what TikTok is, I put this intro video together because I'm doing a spoof of a spoof. You see, on TikTok, there's this guy TJ, a homeless man from Coney Island, New York, who made this viral.
Who's the president? Byron. Who? Byron. Say what's up to Byron. What's up, Byron? I'm the boardwalk king. Let's see a spell.
So then the Jonas brothers took that and made a TikTok of their own in support of Joe Biden, or I guess Joe Byron. It looked like this.
Bing bong.
Are you vaccinated? Yes, sir. Hey, yo. Who's the president, man? Who's the president? Byron. Who's the president? Byron. What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now? What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Do we get it?
We got it.
So in my version, I'm making light of the fact that the naive and clueless Jonas brothers have stooped this low and sold out. It is cringe at its finest, and not the first time the Byron administration has turned to influencers, and oh, how I hate that term, to try to push his agenda, since he's been in a losing battle with his agenda and his poll numbers. He's turned to Olivia Rodrigo, the young singer of the song Driver's License, whom Joe Biden oddly gave a shoehorn as a gift. He's also had the help of Taylor Swift, although indirectly, when the election was going on. No one should be taking political advice from Taylor Swift. Then, of course, there was the White House intern, which was just as cringy. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Cooper, and this is a day in my life as a White House intern.
We did a joke. Hey, Jenny, I booked you a nail appointment, love.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that.
It's called Initiative.
Is Olivia Rodrigo still here?
No. We've come a long way in our fight against this virus. We've vaccinated 160 million Americans. Are you getting this all down?
Don't worry, Queen. It's all right here.
I don't know who is running the show in this administration, but it looks like it's a bunch of high schoolers with their iPhones. Nothing demonstrates competence solving supply chain issues in Afghanistan like the Jonas brothers doing TikToks. But these silly TikToks and my own version prompt a very important question. Who is the president? Is it Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Anthony Fauci, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer? We know that Kamala got really ticked off recently when podcast host Charlemagne the God questioned her about this.
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
I really-
Come on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden. And I'm vice president. And my name is Kamala Harris.
Kamala was none too pleased. But it really does make me wonder, who really is in charge? Because if it is not Joe Biden, then who is it? We can only really go by what comes out of the White House, and we can't trust that it's really Biden because we have seen the mistakes that he makes when he goes off script, or even reads the script just like Will Ferrell in Anchorman.
But at the end of the day, we've always found ways to come together. We can find that unity again. Then the message said, end of message.
Someone is writing these speeches. Someone is directing the policies. So let's do a deeper dive into those who are in the positions of power that might be controlling policy and our country. Tom Vilsack heads the Department of Agriculture and repeats this position from the Obama years. So remember, they weren't kidding when they said this is Obama's third term. Do you understand now? And what is he doing about genetically modified foods? Gina Raimondo heads up the Department of Commerce. Now, she's supposed to be the person who will be tough on China with respect to technology and sanctions, but that remains to be seen. Trump, as you know, was very tough on China. So we will see if Raimondo continues this type of tough action on China, especially with respect to companies like Huawei. Dr. Miguel Cardona leads the Department of Education, and I don't think I have to say too much about how bad a lot of our education system is right now, especially with respect to critical race theory and indoctrination. Javier Becerra runs Health and Human Services, and we saw Senator Rand Paul excoriate Becerra for being a lawyer without any medical credentials whatsoever. In fact, the reason that Becerra is in this post is because he has been a defender of the Affordable Care Act. As we know, parts of Obamacare were struck down legally, so maybe he's not the best lawyer or HHS secretary. Homeland Security, oh boy, this one's a doozy. Alejandro Mayorkas is the brain trust of this department, and we saw him dodge and dodge and dodge in his recent hearings regarding both the southern border and immigration, as well as the Afghan refugees who flew over here on the American plains. Becerra looked inept and unprepared. Marcia Fudge was chosen to lead Housing and Urban Development. And this is interesting because we know that the price of housing has skyrocketed, especially in places like California where it's unaffordable, and nothing has been done about that. The Department of the Interior is led by Deb Haaland, a Native American. She is a big Green New Deal supporter, and it's interesting because between her and Jennifer Granholm, who runs the Department of Energy, we saw the killing of the Keystone XL pipeline, and thus we saw gas prices surge. We are no longer energy independent. The Department of Justice, oh, here we go again. Merrick Garland, a guy we have seen a lot of lately. He's the head cheese there. He's the one who signed the memo to justify the FBI going after parents at school board meetings. He tried to backpedal on this, but the memo he created was prompted by a letter sent to him directly written by people in the Biden cabinet. So do you see why it's necessary for us to look into the tail wagging the dog? He would also be the guy who would look into any prosecution of Anthony Fauci for lying under oath, for which Rand Paul referred him. Mum's the word on that one. Anthony Blinken is Secretary of State. And once again, he was in the hot seat over the botched Afghanistan withdrawal and the death of 13 U.S. service members. He has counseled Biden on foreign policy for 2 decades. Now, think about that. He's clearly a trusted guy by Biden, but 2 decades? And we have 13 dead service members to show for that? Oh, wait. He was also a Deputy Secretary of State in the Obama administration, which means he also oversaw the famous Benghazi screw-up, which led to the death of a U.S. ambassador and others in the embassy. Was Blinken really the right guy to lead state after that? Biden thought so. For transportation, let's hop on board with Pete Buttigieg, who was more famous for having a baby than his actual job. We know that he adopted and that he took a lot of time off, but what we don't know is what he's doing about the supply chain crisis and shortage of goods. We just know a lot about his identity. Department of Treasury, Janet Yellen, the lady that said inflation was just going to be a short-term headache. Now she admits it's going to be a bit longer than that. Yeah, I would think so if you keep just printing monopoly money. More money in circulation for a limited supply of goods. Biden chose Dennis McDonough to lead the VA. Now, McDonough is not a veteran, which is rare for this position, but Biden felt that he was crisis tested, whatever that means. Special Envoy for Climate is good old John Kerry, a guy who was doing some shadow diplomacy with Iran to save the Iran deal, which could be a violation of the 200-year-old Logan Act. Kerry was responsible for the original boatloads of cash to Iran and then tried to save it when Trump ditched it. Ron Klain is Biden's chief of staff and a longtime aide to him. You may remember Susan Rice from the Obama years. She is director of the Domestic Policy Council, helping preserve Obama's 3rd term as well. Now, we all know Jen Psaki, as she is Biden's press secretary and the one that has to circle back to a lot of questions, including whether Biden has ever been to the southern border in his lifetime. Another senior advisor to Biden is Mike Donilon. He began working for then Senator Biden in 1981. He has contributed to the election of more than 25 Democrat U.S. senators and governors, as well as candidates in South America, such as Colombia and Peru. He crafted Biden's messaging in the campaign, so if there's one guy to really look into in terms of messaging and direction, it's Mike Donilon. He's way too entrenched in politics to just be glossed over. When I think of Wag the dog, this is kind of who I think of. Now, I didn't mention every single cabinet member or appointee here in my analysis, but at least I tried to give you an overview of who is running the show. As I said, some of these folks are already in hot water, but you can tell that many of them are repeats from the Obama administration. Maybe even more embarrassingly, they're holdovers from the Hillary Clinton State Department. They are the folks that permitted the rise of ISIS. So, although many memes are made about Joe Biden and his mental capacity, it is serious to think about who is making legitimate policy decisions. For instance, when you compare Anthony Blinken to Trump's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, the contrast is stark. Or an Attorney General like Merrick Garland versus Trump's pick Bill Barr, who pursued a lot of the legalities around immigration and homeland security that had previously just not been enforced. Now, Trump was a lot more proactive because of his previous experience in the business world. He was a negotiator, he was a deal maker. So when you think about his interaction with Kim Jong-un and other adversarial leaders, Trump had his own way of doing things. He also had people like his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, leading diplomacy in the Middle East and got 4 peace deals done. And Pompeo kind of playing bad cop while Trump kept Putin, Xi, and Kim Jong-un at amicable arm's reach. I think in terms of foreign policy, the two presidents could not be more diametrically opposed, especially when you think about Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, China, and Russia. I do question Trump's choice of Anthony Scaramucci for communications director for all of his, 6 days. But that was an easy fire. But as I satirize in my opening, someone is also running a strategy with respect to trying to be hip with young people and pop culture. It looks extremely obvious and painful at that. But they think the Jonas Brothers will encourage you to get a booster. Trump provided his own entertainment. It's just how he is. Biden is trying to get help by a bunch of Gen Zers telling him that TikTok will influence people and in the end, get him more votes. TikTok is highly influential, don't get me wrong, but there are a few problems. They are owned by ByteDance, a Chinese multinational company. It is alleged that ByteDance worked with the Chinese Communist Party to censor and surveil content pertaining to Chinese internment camps and other topics that the CCP deemed controversial. This should not be a surprise, though, because of the way the CCP controls Chinese companies and media. Trump signed an executive order for ByteDance to divest its U.S. operations. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce intervened, citing national security issues. So it's okay for the CCP and ByteDance to use TikTok's technology to spy and censor us, but when we call them on it, they cite national security. Come on, man. India banned TikTok, and for good reason. So think about that when you use the app. I know that no one at the White House is thinking about that.
We got it.
In every press conference Biden does, you know he has handlers in the wings carefully orchestrating how much he speaks and who gets to ask what. It's like puppetry in a way. Now, look, I can't blame him for falling asleep at the COP26 climate summit because that's just straight up boring. Speech after speech after speech after speech. He probably just needed some coffee and was jet lagged. But the other blunders are less understandable. And it's the behind the scenes people you have to watch. The ones that got confirmed by a razor thin margin. They craft policy. They make decisions. And when I think about this current wave of Omicron and how Kamala Harris stupidly tweeted that if Joe Biden got elected, that they would get the virus under control. It seems like a joke. But think about this. Can you get tested right now? I tried. And the quickest test I could get was like 11 days in the future. I would have passed the entire virus by then. How in the world are we this unprepared when it comes to testing, whether in person or take-home tests? We had all these variants and now Omicron, and we can't get a test within a reasonable amount of time? Where's Biden on this? He doesn't have this virus or the testing under control. And when he told all the unvaccinated to prepare for a long and awful winter, did he also factor in the vaccinated who are still getting COVID and spreading it? He acts as though vaccination provides immunity, and the science says otherwise. Folks, we are going on year 3 of this pandemic. And what do we have to show for ourselves? What is our level of preparedness? Kamala Harris's tweet was a naive, unfulfilled promise. Rasmussen has Biden upside down by 15 points in the latest polls in terms of job approval. I'm not mentioning this to rail on the guy. I'm just saying that I don't know how many people out there who still stand by him. I don't see Biden bumper stickers or flags. In fact, you see the opposite. This Let's Go Brandon thing has taken the country by storm. And the sad part is, Biden doesn't even know that it's a joke on him. He recently took a call by someone who said that, and he didn't get it. Take a look.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry
Thank
Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
Now, if Biden's staff is really that tech savvy and young, someone, even his own wife, should have told him, Mr. President, okay, there's this thing, okay. A NASCAR driver named Brandon won the race, and the reporter thought that the fans were shouting, let's go, Brandon. But they were actually shouting, F Joe Biden. So anytime you hear that, just know that it's not a good thing for you. The White House interns have no counter to this. Their best hope is the Jonas brothers. You see, spontaneous things are sometimes better than engineered, forced ones. Remember when Trump told Hillary in the debates, because you'd be in jail? That was cold, because it was such a burn, but it was improv. Trying to make Joe Biden seem cool is a futile effort. And Biden whispering into the microphone is not helping either. But seriously, this is all about policy, because that's what makes a difference to you and me. Taxes, economy, inflation, gas prices, food prices, housing prices, interest rates, lockdowns, crime, health policy, and privacy. Those things matter to you and me. The moral superiority complex that they created from being vaccinated has fallen apart. And Joe Manchin has sole-handedly dismantled a lot of Biden's agenda. Don't expect to see Manchin chairing any committees anytime soon. But hey, this is the way the cookie crumbles. This is how legislation works in our country. You have to make sure that your party is behind you, or at least have some bipartisan support. Biden did a bad job of selling his plan, not just to the American people, but to Congress. So is he really leading? Are his advisors doing their job if they can't get their party in line? Who is crafting Build Back Better? Why is it so expensive? Is it right to burden the next generation with that much debt just to satisfy the climate fear-mongering of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? So what do we take away from this? Well, we are seeing Joe Biden for who he is and who he isn't. He was sold to the electorate as a veteran statesman, Amtrak Joe. Many voters chose him because they couldn't stomach Trump and his tweets. But do you find Biden presidential? Do you find him to be leading us out of a pandemic to thriving economic times? Or do you see the Wizard of Oz being revealed from behind the curtain? And the great and powerful Oz is just a bunch of TikToking interns and Obama has-beens. 1 year in, and we are seeing some very revealing things. Thanks for watching, and I'm wishing you a prosperous new year. I'm Beau, and that's the show.